a question there from Victor. He said, I have a question. If USA goes into a recession and BTC never saw a recession, will you sell? No, of course not. Why would I sell? Like Bitcoin, that's what Bitcoin is there for. If there's a recession,
what would I buy if I sold it?
What are you going to buy? You're gonna hold fiat. You're gonna hold so you're basically gonna gamble on pieces of paper going up in value compared to the scarcest asset in the world.
Yeah,
that doesn't really make any sense, right? Why would you do that? I don't plan to do that. That's what I'm holding it for. In case there is a recession, that's what I'm holding Bitcoin for.
Yeah.
My bigger concern with that is them actually printing so much. I mean, Bitcoin will inherently go up with that, but like one of my bigger concerns is the fact that they're going to make life so unaffordable for people, so expensive for people, that number one, people aren't going to have a choice, even if they want to buy Bitcoin, because they simply have zero excess savings or money. But the other thing too is, like, as rents go up, as food gets more expensive, as utilities go up, Bitcoiners might actually be forced to sell some of their Bitcoin just to cover the costs of life now, right? Because their salary hasn't necessarily caught up with the cost of living, and they actually have to part with some of those sats. I think that that's going to be one of the, I talked about like my capital gains theory of like trying to pry sats out of people's hands and, you know, making it tax-free, reducing the friction. But if they made things so expensive that Bitcoiners actually had to part with some of their sats just to survive, that's a problem too. I'm much more worried about that than a recession, because you guys are absolutely right. In a recession, I'd be, I'd be like, okay, well, I'm in the right spot. But other way, it could happen too, I think.
But if things get really expensive and okay, so I'm just gonna go based on like a just anecdotal evidence. So I've spoken to a lot of people who are making a lot of money, and then I've spoken to other people who are making very little money, right? So the people who are making a lot of money, they've gotten there because they've kind of predicted where things are going, and they're the ones who hold a lot of Bitcoin. The people who make a lot of money, they did that by starting a business. So if prices do go up, keep in mind that, okay, some people are going to have to sell, but other people are going to be buying even more because they're going to be taking advantage of prices going up. What do you guys
They're
think?
They're going to be buying more Bitcoin when prices go up?
Because what I mean here is prices go up. They're the ones who are selling the products that are going up in price. So they're making that profit, and they're going to be able to accumulate more Bitcoin. So let's say, for example, the price of beef goes up. Ranchers who are selling grass-fed steaks, they're going to be able to make more money, so they'll be able to take more Bitcoin off the market.
Yeah, but I don't think it's margin that it's not profit margin that they make when the prices go up, because they have the input costs go up as well.
Yeah.
Which is a product of fiat expansion.
Right, but as a percentage, their profits are going to remain the same.
Their profits could, or they could get squeezed. They could get squeezed a little bit,
that's true.
Potentially, and actually have less spending power. But you're right in the way where there's all like that, like there will be people that profit or benefit from that, like, and it'll probably be centralization that'll happen of purchasing power. And those people will move their assets into Bitcoin because it's the ultimate store of value. And then that will increase the price of Bitcoin. But that trend is not the trend that, I mean, we'd want, but it's also like, that's like the kind of the trajectory, the trend of every fiat capitalist society. And there's not really any avoiding that.
The gap grows.
Yeah, the gap grows. It's built into the structure of how it works.
So some people get really, really rich while other people get really, really poor, and they just keep getting worse.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a couple different things here. And the reason why this channel exists, the reason why all three of us have channels, is because we understand that. We understand that we want the average person to have influence and power in the future. And these sats are only going to get more expensive. So by the time most people figure this out, they're going to be completely priced out of Bitcoin, which is very sad, but it's the reality. We're doing everything that we can here to try to wake people up to the fact that one system is dying, one system is about to explode. But, as the saying goes, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't actually make the horse drink the water. And that's kind of the point of this. But the one thing that I've noticed, going back to kind of like the vibe checks within Bitcoin right now, yes, there's less monkey profile pics on Twitter, which I love. There's less pronouns on Instagram, which I also love. And I don't think we're ever going back to that world either. That's the best part about it. is like, that was a very crazy short time in history, but I just don't see any sort of scenario where we go back to the monkey JPEGs and the pronouns and the, thinking that, I know there's a small percentage of population who thinks that climate change is an actual problem right now, or, we have any impact on it. But I just don't think that we're ever going back to that. And that's kind of the exciting thing for me, is we seem to be like kind of at the forefront of the golden age of what's coming here in monetary terms, and like society, and people being a lot more logical and full of common sense. So that's what I've noticed anyways. I don't know. What do you guys, have you seen the same, or are you a little more worried than I am?
Well, I think the way it kind of works within history is that it's like a pendulum swinging.
Pendulum,
Yeah, it swings, but it's also like it's pendulum that's not on a fixed point. It is trending towards moving in a direction, even though it swings back and forth. That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
I mean, if prices go up too high, there's going to be mean reversion, right? There's going to be people who who provide services because they can get them. Like, let's say, for example, prices of something go up, and you can develop the skill. It's just how capitalism works, right? You have the incentive to provide more of that service, so it'll drive prices down. We're already seeing deflation in terms of Bitcoin. Prices in terms of US dollars are going to go up forever. I think that's one of the things that Bitcoiners have accepted. We've accepted that prices in US dollars will rise forever, while prices in Bitcoin are going to fall forever. So I think more and more people are kind of figuring that out. And
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Bitcoiners are going to be better off, and I think stock and real estate investors are going to be worse off. I think that's the thing we should be focusing on, because right now a lot of people who own stocks and real estate, they don't see what's coming.
Yeah, I agree.
Like with real estate, they're going with the same cap rates and stuff, so they should be much higher.
Yeah, and they think they'll be fine. They'll think they think because it's been an okay strategy in the history, that it'll continue to be. But everything changes after big prints happen, and people take a long time to recalibrate to that. And the prints just keep getting bigger. The prints get bigger, and Bitcoin is the major beneficiary of that.
Exactly.
They have to get bigger because the purchasing power decreases. So it's a spiral, right? Like in the beginning, I think it took the US something like 150 years to get to $1 billion worth of debt. Then it took them something like 200 years to get to $1 trillion, or whatever the years are. But it took less and less time to get to the next order of magnitude. So that's exactly what's happening with this system. As that spirals out of control, as the US government goes, like at some point in our lifetimes, I think the US is going to be at $100 trillion of debt.
I think it's possible that the US completely defaults on their debt within our lifetime.
Yeah, definitely possible. Yeah.
Like, I just don't like, I don't know. Like, I made this video about the dollar milkshake theory, and it's like, as the fiat expansion gets worse, the dollar actually gets stronger as a benefit of it. But still, there's ends up being a breaking point, and it just becomes a breaking point for all fiat currencies, where there's no trust in any of them.
Yes.
And the only thing that that fiat is built on is trust. And if you don't need trust, I mean, that's what Bitcoin is. It's a trustless network. Like, that is so important for a commodity money, or a money of value. I just see it like we have the option, we have the out, and we're building this parallel system, which is Bitcoin. And when people are ready, they can hop onto it, and they see massive benefit from it. Like Rajat, you mentioned, everything goes down when we already live in a deflationary world because we've adopted Bitcoin.
Yep.
Whereas everybody else is living in an inflationary one still. And the last adopter of gunpowder, as far as a nation goes, is the one that gets taken over by the ones that have adopted gunpowder before them. So the Bitcoiners hold all the cards, they hold all the power, and they continue to do so as things get worse for the people that don't hold Bitcoin.
Yeah. And to me, it seems like more and more people are actually starting to realize that, dollars can be created. If you compared right now to even 4 years ago, the percentage of people who are actually aware of the fact that our dollars are completely illusionary, that's only going to continue. No one's going to realize that and then go back to the old system and be like, okay, never mind, I changed my mind. These things are actually legitimate. So we're moving in one direction here.
Yeah, and it's a one-way road. You're right, 100%.
It is.
One-way road,
really
yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And the thing for me is like, as more and more people who are actually adding value to this world, whether that is a cattle farmer and they're selling beef to the people in their area, as those people figure it out and they realize that those dollars are going to continue to devalue and they are made out of nothing and backed by nothing, and they start demanding Bitcoin for payment, that's when everything changes to me. That's when the dollar just, because it could go to, you know, and that's the other thing too, is like, there's no limit on what that buys or how little that buys, because it's literally backed and is nothing. So as the people who've add value, the local coffee shop, once they realize they don't want to hold dollars anymore because they're nothing, they start making people pay in Bitcoin. And when they start making people pay in Bitcoin, that's when people say, okay, well, if I want to be part of this society here, if I want to get the products and services that I need, I'm going to have to get some Bitcoin myself so I can pay for things in my life. And that's going to be a huge shift within the world. And it's coming.
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody's going to want pieces of paper at some point. And it sounds completely ridiculous today. Oh, why would nobody want dollars? The US government is backing it. The US government created it. It's backed by gold, some people might think, right? But they're not going to want them eventually because there's going to just be so many dollars. It's like if you try to pay somebody with a grain of sand, they can go to a beach and get another grain of sand. Why would they want to be paid in sand? Even if you try to convince them that it's valuable, at some point, like in the current system, it's taken over 100 years to indoctrinate people into thinking that pieces of paper are valuable. And now it's all falling apart. It's all falling apart partly because of the internet, where people just spread information. They just got all the information. And then it kind of accelerated because of Bitcoin. At least that's what I think.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah, and it's like a penny probably costs more to make than a paper dollar. And try spending a penny anywhere. I mean, literally in Canada, it's I mean, there's just so many clear examples of where we're going with this fiat system. And it's like they literally got rid of the penny because it's not worth anything. And in America, I think they might have done the same at this point. If not, they should, because it costs more than a penny to make a penny. But yeah, it's just like that is evidence of the devaluation of the purchasing power of that currency. And it's just going to continue down that road. It's a one-way road.
I want to ask you guys a question. So right now it costs, so the cost, based on what you were saying there, Forrest, the cost, right now it costs something like 10 cents to make a US dollar. When do you guys think that's going to, yeah. So to make a $100 bill, it costs like 11 or I think 9 to 12 cents, something like that. When do you guys think that's going to go to $1? Because the value of the dollar is going to keep decreasing. It's going to keep decreasing, right?
Yeah, there'll be a point, maybe.
They also want dollars to disappear, though, too. We got to keep that in mind. Is they want a cashless society. So I think that it'll be long before that happens, we'll actually be in like a fully, if they have it their way, cash will just stop long before that, in my opinion.
Yeah, the digital dollar costs a lot less than the 11 cents. So yeah, that's the direction they'll go.